I'm usually asked what the Lowe's Innovation Labs is, what you're doing there, and why. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the why, and then we're going to show you a big what. So our first reveal of some really cool new technology that we've built. But first I want to get into the why. And if you haven't got the message yet that most of us in corporate America or in the world, we're on a linear path. And there's nothing wrong with the linear path. Parts of the organization need to be on the linear path. That's what keeps organizations going. That's what keeps stuff on the shelves at Lowe's and keeps things going. But at the same time, we live in an exponential world, and not realizing that, not understanding that, is what gets you wiped out, right? We've seen all the quotes. Peter talked about it. We've heard it throughout the conference and elsewhere. And we've seen it in reality with companies that were once almost untouchable are now gone in a very short period of time. And that exponentiality up the curve happens faster and faster and in more unpredicted ways. So the idea of sitting around and waiting for things to come and disrupt your business doesn't really work because you can't anticipate fast enough. So what we've decided to do is to work with uncommon partners to create futures that would be great for Lowe's, right? To make things that seem science fiction a reality. So I'm going to show a short video that talks about that and shows the first manifestation of this new labs process, where we work with uncommon partners like Singularity University and others to be able to make things that no one would probably ever think Lowe's would be working on. It's really my dream come true. It's something that I have always wanted to see, that I'd seen in science fiction stories in the past, that I always thought, man, I really wish that was real. And so we built it, and it exists. I'm sitting in it.
The pace and rate of technology change today is exponential.
Technology is moving crazy fast.
We're seeing massive shifts in nanotechnology, printed electronics, 3D modeling.
It's going to blow your mind. It's so new and so different.
It's literally plucked out of science fiction.
The Lowe's Innovation Labs is all about being proactive and creating the future.
One thing that we think we're well ahead of the field in is 3D technology.
The reaction to the Innovation Labs is usually, Lowe's is doing what?
We call that our hollow room.
Followed by when the explanation comes soon thereafter is, wow, that sounds pretty cool. It's pretty exciting.
You can create any environment you want. So if you want to be in a forest, you can be in a forest. You want to be in the desert, you can be in the desert. We have the technologies today to do that.
What we decided as a company to do was to create these labs, which are physical places where we can quickly bring in new technology and new startups and try them out really fast. We as a company want to be involved in development and partnership with these startups. Everything that we're working on inside of the Lowe's Innovation Labs is stuff that no one ever would think that Lowe's would be coming out with, ever. A great example of Lowe's working with uncommon partners is a science fiction prototyping company called SciFutures.
SciFutures is a foresight and innovation consultancy. What we do is we use the power of sci-fi narratives to explain the complexity of the times in a way that everyone in the organization can understand.
You look at some of the most major advancements in the last 10 years, they came straight out of science fiction stories.
We were able to completely pull back the curtain and say, come on Lowe's, pop your head in and have a look and see what the world could be like using these technologies. And obviously they were so excited about it, they were like, we've got to build that. And out of that came this idea of this hollow room.
Welcome to the hollow room. So the hollow room essentially is an augmented reality room.
One of the problems that customers who are renovating their homes have is very hard for them to visualize what a remodeled bathroom would be like.
How is it going to look if I change out the countertop, if I leave the floor? It's very difficult to be able to visualize that. And even if you can visualize it, your partner in life probably can't. And that inability to explain your vision to your partner is what stops many projects dead in their tracks. So that's why we created this thing. So the first thing you do when you go to the hollow room is you recreate the room that you want to renovate. Next, you add in furniture and appliances, flooring, all of the things that you could possibly buy or do inside of a Lowe's.
The mirror.
Yeah.
The vanity.
Nice. I just love that toilet.
Then the real magic happens, and you go inside of this hollow room where you get to experience the selections and the layout that you just picked, and you get to see and feel what it's really like.
Yeah, it's like I'm right there.
Check it out.
Like you're in the bathroom. This is cool.
Oh.
Oh, there you go.
You could say it. And that augmented reality experience allows you to walk up, see the actual grain of the wood.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
That's the one that you chose over there. Isn't that cool?
It's an intuitive experience, the way you would really experience a room. You walk around. You don't just stand and look at it. You walk and you see, you get under parts, you see underneath cabinets. You can't do that with a picture. What I've noticed is when people try it out, they giggle because it's so fun. It feels like they're on a ride.
It just is a reminder that like the future is upon us. You know, this is probably just the beginning.
Initially, we're going to be rolling this out into stores, but the future is pretty obvious, right? You will, in the very near future, be able to use this in your own home. In your pajamas, if you want to.
You will get a printout from Lowe's just like this to take home with you. You download the app.
Oh, fascinating.
That is very cool. Honey, I know it doesn't look like it, but this is our new bathroom.
So this is really big for Lowe's in a lot of ways, both for the Hollow Room and just for this Innovation Labs idea. And this new way of thinking is spawning other things that are even further out and wilder and crazier.
We're about to change the game.
The things that are coming up are going to blow people away, no question about it. I can't wait for people to see it.
A holodeck? Really?
Yeah.
You got away with that?
We did.
Does the CEO know?
He does. He loves it.
So why science fiction?
So here's the problem, right? We've all done this. Doesn't matter what you do in your job. You've presented something to senior leadership or to whomever that you need buy-in from, and you've presented it as we need to do this, and this is cool, and that's good, and this is big, and they go, great job, love it, and then nothing happens. And the problem is that it's not that the content was wrong; it was the way it was delivered is not set up to be received, right? So everyone's talking about storytelling. Right? Who isn't talking about storytelling? But the way that it happens in corporations is usually just chronological, sequential order. And that's not a story. A story is a narrative that has conflict, it has resolution, it has characters. So in my frustration with trying to get people to understand and catch the vision, and then build on it in their respective ways, we partnered with this amazing company called Sci Futures, where we literally give them all of our marketing research, our trend data, and other things, and we hire professional science fiction writers to write possible futures. So here's a possible future that could happen and how those trends and technologies would influence a person or people. And then we said, as an organization, as a company, okay, we're going to go out and build that technology that leads to that future before anybody else does. And that's what this Hollow Room was. It required us to create technology that didn't exist. So, for instance, one big part of this is, yes, there's this amazing augmented reality solution, but we had to come up with a way to scan everything that Lowe's sells. That's a very difficult thing that didn't exist. How do you scan a faucet that's made out of chrome? How do you scan a vanity that's made out of wood? And keep the price low and also keep the fidelity high? Difficult solutions. But because everyone was focused on the vision, the science fiction vision, they understood it. And it didn't matter the way we were going to get there to achieve that vision. That was where we were going.
So is the ideal that you end up with one of these in every store?
That's the hope, right? And also beyond store, right? So yes, we're rolling it out into 2 stores into Canada to try out in the coming months this year. And then we're going to learn and iterate. But there's so many different ways you can serve up this material, right? I mean, think about it. It's an iPad, right? Who doesn't have an iPad? Or a tablet. There's a lot of different ways that everyone's probably thinking of that you could serve it up. It's also, we built it to be platform agnostic. So you could port it into a wearable or any of the other things that are going to come out on Kickstarter while we're talking.
Oculus Rift?
Of course.
Have you pre-ordered one?
We have a couple of them. We're playing with it. We're very excited for the next version.
So you could actually wear an Oculus Rift, run this kind of simulation in your own house without even going to the store.
Theoretically, yes, right?
The store managers are going to get freaked out about that.
Well, with any kind of disruptive technology, there's things that change. I mean, think about how disruptive e-commerce was when it first came out. How do you apply sales to the store in that area? And companies have largely figured that out, right, in different ways. That's the struggle. You talked about the immune system or the antibodies that show up, and that's their job. Their job is to keep the ship going. And it's not an adversarial thing. They bring up really valid points about how to realize this future. I think a lot of times people come in with great ideas, but to really make things happen, you have to work with the existing infrastructure. So it's about aligning what is currently there with what the future could be and making sure everyone comes along in a meaningful way.
We had a question yesterday about how do we deal with the future of the physical spaces around us. So this is an interesting opportunity for us. Does anybody in the audience have any questions? Because we'll throw out some questions and Any questions? Okay. How do you map this back onto the main mothership then? So you've built this thing out here, and do you bring the senior management over to look at it?
Yes.
Do you not tell them about it and stick it in the store? What do you do?
Sometimes both. No, we work with our senior leadership team on all of these things. So they're there from the beginning when we talk about using the science fiction prototyping. So there are many possible futures that we could develop, and we agree as a team what we're going to build. So they're there from the strategic point of view right away. So this Hollow Room idea was a science fiction story not long ago that we turned into reality. So it's interesting. In other parts of my career, there's so much focus on the how and the what, right? And the why gets lost or gets tacked in on the back end to suit whatever the what is, right? And we've seen that all over and over again in all of our careers. But this has been the complete opposite, which is it's about realizing that vision and making, a home improvement decisions and visualization easy and intuitive. The how and the what just kind of takes care of itself. And that's what's been really powerful, I think.
Okay. So you've started in Lowe's Labs with this kind of concept. Have you looked at other areas where you might push the envelope using science fiction?
Of course. I wish I could. I'm dying to tell you about it, but there's so many things. All the things
we won't tell anyone.
Yeah, that's right. This is not being recorded, right? My PR person in the audience is probably worried. But the things that are going to be coming out of the lab in the next little while are far different than I think what anybody would think Lowe's would be coming out with. It fits with Lowe's, it builds Lowe's, and it makes Lowe's a differentiated experience. But they're not the kind of things like, oh, obviously Lowe's would be coming out with that. And I think that's the key too. There's all of those examples of when something disruptive shows up, people kind of, it feels a little too uncomfortable. That's how I know I'm on the right track. If it seems too obvious, then it's probably not pushing the envelope far enough.
So your job is to make the head of branding for Lowe's really uncomfortable, basically.
Well, I see it as making that person very excited to work at Lowe's, but maybe it comes out the other way sometimes. But it is, that's the other thing that's really been cool about the science fiction prototyping methodology, and then having these offsite labs like with SU where we can build things with uncommon partners together. Is so powerful is that you can tell these science fiction prototyping stories. We basically make comic books and pass them out to select people. And everyone from the cashier, frontline person, all the way up to the C-suite, they all intuitively understand it and they build on it in their way. And I've never seen a solution like that or a strategy document where people of all levels get excited about it and they build.
So you involve all of the different layers right down to the coalface in terms of writing these stories?
We do. So we get their feedback and we try to understand how the person that we're ultimately trying to serve is going to be affected by these technologies.
How many customers have you brought through this thing?
This last iteration, this is a series of iterations. This is where we've gotten here. We only brought in, because we're trying to keep it secret, less than 100. Okay. But you saw the reactions of people that got to see it, and it's just really rewarding to see people intuitively use technology when technology is sometimes seen as something that's difficult or ununderstandable.
You may have actually cracked that usability angle that we talked about earlier. You actually have one back here.
We do.
If you're interested in actually seeing it, send a tweet to @LowesLabs, and Kyle will take you back there to look at it. Right?
It's pretty cool.
Excellent. All right. Kyle, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.